I'm Apolo Ohno, and welcome to Making Team USA, presented by Xfinity. We're now 7 weeks out from the start of the Milano Cortina Winter Games. This is a weekly series that I hope provides you with a window into the minds, the sports, and the stories of the athletes looking to join Team USA, the toughest team to make. This week, it's all about what rocks at the Olympics and Paralympics. Curling. We have the skips of two of the teams, Danny Casper and Matt Thums. Danny Casper, welcome to Making Team USA, the hardest team to make. Hey man, you're doing some powerful stuff. These are some new, interesting times. And what I consider to be, you're carrying the new torch of the men's curling team forward. This is all happening super fast. So I want to know, did you know this was going to happen? Did you have confidence? Is this a surprise? Walk us through these moments.
Yeah, well, I think if you were to ask me at the end of the last quad, so around the last Olympics, I don't know how realistic I would have thought it would be, but the last couple of years, I think we've had some good seasons on our team, and I think going into our trials, we had a few different teams who probably expected themselves to win. So, I don't think I'm super surprised. That doesn't take anything away from how amazing Schuster and Dropkin and those guys are that were at our trials, and we were pretty confident going in.
Look, you bring a lot of fire to this game. It's your first Olympic team. But to get here, we talk about making Team USA the toughest team to make, and you had to knock out one of the OGs, John Schuster, who was going to make his sixth Olympic team. That's a lot. That's a lot on the table, right? You got a guy that maybe was maybe mentorship or somewhat kind of like the figurehead in your sport. In order for you to get there, you got to knock out this one guy that everyone looked to. How'd that feel?
Yeah, special. I mean, I think, beating Schuster specifically, I guess, wasn't necessarily something that we put a ton of thought into. Obviously, we were aware of their experience going into the trials and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it feels amazing. And I think what feels even better is ever since the trials, I think the people that I've heard from the most about moving forward is them. And what to expect, what they think we should do. We've seen them multiple times, and even during the trials, we had Airbnbs. We were neighbors accidentally, but we found out on the first day. And,
yeah.
We're going back and forth during the event, hanging out with each other, and they don't need to do any of that. And I think that just speaks to what they mean to Team USA and what they mean to the sport. And it's pretty special to have guys around like that who have done it all and are more than happy to offer up their help for us. So it's pretty cool to be a part of that.
It is. It's very cool indeed. That's a class act by Schuster and the team to continuously communicate with you guys. I think that's the beauty of the Olympics, man, is that if I can't do it and I can't be there and someone else beat me straight up, I want them to go and beat the rest of the world. And that's the cool thing. So this unifying force of the Olympics is still alive and real. And thanks for sharing that story.
It feels very real in U.S. curling. Even that Olympic qualification event we needed to go to, it was such a team effort just from the country as a whole.
Yeah.
So like you said, that unifying, experience is definitely being shown in curling.
Yeah, very cool. I think Schuster started in 2006, and I just remember the curling team at the time, they felt so foreign to us. We were who are these guys? What do they do? Where do they train? What's going on? And now it's obviously exploded in popularity around the world. You're on tour or in competition. I think you have a game tomorrow. You're in Saskatchewan, and you are the next generation, man. So you're going to have a lot of young folks looking up to you, seeing what they can do to make teams. I find it interesting that just a short 4 years ago, you didn't think it was a possibility. What was the mental shift to give you the confidence and say yeah, man, I am worthy. I can make this team?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I mean, the last Olympics, I was still in juniors, and that's kind of a whole different focus when we have the 21 and under age group, and there's kind of different things that you're trying to accomplish at that age. And the goal was always Olympics and winning and stuff like that eventually. I think at the time I didn't really know when that would be. So like I said, the focuses were a little bit different. And then that next year, all the teams kind of switch up after an Olympics. A lot of stuff happens, and was able to get myself on a pretty good team. And then, pretty shortly after that, I think we realized that the next Olympics, so this one, was a pretty realistic goal for us.
Yeah, I love it. And you're definitely doing that in full effect. I would say that a lot of casual viewers who are watching curling, they don't fully understand. They think of the sport as kind of slow, maybe non-athletic. And I have to remind people, I'm like, look, this is a sport that is like chess, mixed with elite decision-making at the executive level, in which you embody. Being the skip, you're kind of in charge of like this overall strategy and constant decision-making under pressure, right? So like I'm sure there's like millions of variables of change and volatility that can happen throughout a game. And you're always constantly having to decipher, if I do this, then what do they do? And if they do this, what do we have to do? You're reacting in real time, you're planning. It seems actually like a real total mind game. Is that true?
100%. And like you said, especially at my position, I don't do any sweeping myself. So I'm, kind of more in charge of the strategy and kind of thinking about those next steps. But at the same time, especially at the higher levels, like all 4 players on the team are pretty involved with that. And it's, sweeping is probably much more tiring than people think it is. But even myself, like after a game, I'm exhausted, just like mentally going through everything and, dealing with people's emotions. And, we kind of joke sometimes it's not like other sports where if you get mad about something, you can run faster, hit harder, and just kind of take it out on something. Like you just got to find a way to calm yourself down. And that takes a lot in itself. But there's a lot going on. I think another cool thing about curling is a lot of times all players are mic'd up, so you can listen to them at all times.
I love that part. I love that part.
Yeah. So there's a lot to learn with the strategy, and I think it's fun to watch if you're new. Like you can try to guess what they're going to do next, and obviously listen and try to figure out what's going on. But the mic'd up thing's pretty cool.
Yeah, it gives. I don't think you would ever want me to be mic'd up during my sport. That would probably not be a good idea. Definitely not safe for work or for the show.
We got to be careful sometimes.
I'm sure. It's hard, your emotions. All right, let's rewind a bit here so we can give people more insight into who Danny Casper is. It hasn't been all peaches and cream. You faced a lot of real challenges, physical challenges. I'm not as aware of GBS as many people. So I'd love for you to explain what it is, how you were diagnosed, and how challenging it was to the point where sometimes you couldn't even walk.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was pretty crazy. It's pretty rare, so there's still a lot of stuff kind of being figured out about the disease itself. But it's Guillain-Barré syndrome. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's French, right. And basically it's
Guillain-Barré syndrome,
an autoimmune disease. Yeah, that you get, and it kind of attacks and destroys your nerves. I kind of found out the hard way how important nerves are. Not that I didn't know already, if you were to ask me, but I don't think I even realized how little you could do. But I was actually playing in a curling event, a mixed doubles event, where it's a little bit different, and that requires me to sweep. And I kind of chalked it up at first to like, I don't really spend a lot of time sweeping. I must be, not having great form right now or not used to it physically. And, my shoulder hurt, my neck hurt. I was like, that's kind of weird. But over the course of the next couple of days after I went home, it just kind of went downhill pretty fast, and couldn't get out of bed. Couldn't, move my hands, use my phone, like nothing. Wow. Walk, like you said. And I think, the scary part was we didn't know what it was for multiple months. And it's not like you broke your arm too and you got a cast on and someone's like, hey, you got to wear this cast for however long and then you'll be better. And like people just had to believe me, which not that they wouldn't, the people close to me, but it's still kind of a hard thing to wrap your head around. And I got all these tests and whatnot, and for a while we thought it was vitamin D deficiency, which
interesting.
I don't know. What do I know, right? But I was like, that feels weird. And oddly enough, if you look it up, it is quite similar. Some of the symptoms, but yeah, obviously, as you can imagine, didn't play for a while. My team, they had like different subs play on our team. Like almost every weekend, we'd go play in a tournament and, try to find someone that was available. We played with some guys that have retired and kind of came back and tried to help us out. And, that was interesting for me, as frustrating as it was. Kind of gave me a different lens on our team. And, we got all sorts of different perspectives from different people who have kind of been there, done that, about how they thought that our team operates. But yeah, I went down to Florida through the USOPC at some point and did all these tests and was diagnosed after a few months of dealing with it. And yeah, unfortunately, with nerves, there's not a ton you can really do because they just have to heal themselves. And I think I was told like a millimeter a day is kind of the general
Wow.
how long it takes to heal. So, about your whole body, like that's a lot of millimeters. So yeah, it was quite challenging, quite emotional. Still is, to be honest, thinking back on it, and I'm still dealing with it a little bit. But yeah, it was very, very challenging. But at the same time, I think it made this last couple months a little bit easier in a way, because I think my mind was much freer and just being grateful and more thankful that I could even play at such a high level.
Yeah.
And I think that was a little dangerous for some other teams of us just, going out there and not really playing in a way of being afraid to lose. We were just out there to win.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I can imagine that, you have these moments where you're a bit afraid, you're probably scared, there's this unknown thing that's happening to your body. You can't explain to anyone. You're just like, this is what I feel. I don't know what's wrong with me. And then finally you get this diagnosis and you're like, okay, there's like a little bit of light, right? So you're like, okay, at least we've identified what the hell this thing is. And then you start to say like, well, what can we do about it, right? And it sounds like you've kind of somewhat been able to manage that, but from my kind of small understanding of autoimmune challenges is that these things, they're a little bit like flares, right? You just don't know why they happen. They just kind of flare up. You have to figure out how to calm them down and get back to a state. And I'm assuming that maybe does it help if you're in a good kind of cognitive mental state so you don't overly stress yourself, or does this have nothing to do with it? Like how does it actually flare up on you?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've found, I'm not sure if stress or anything, they say, it has an impact.
Yeah.
And, I'm not really sure if it does or not. The unfortunate part about the sport that I play is the cold definitely doesn't help.
Makes
that
sense.
makes it a little bit worse. So not like we're outside in the real cold like some other winter sports, but I'm trying real hard to stay as warm as I can. I'm wearing way more layers than everybody else, and way more than I normally would. But yeah, we're still kind of trying to figure out what's going on, and how to manage it.
Look, okay, two things. One, it's really cool that your team stuck with you through these challenges. I think that, through all the substitutions, they kind of like, you obviously have like a real skill and ability that is there and needed, and a leadership. So that's really amazing. You are the next generation, man, of Team USA curling. Whether you want it or not, brother, that is the title. You go into Milan with this on your guys' back. What has to happen for you and the team to bring home a medal?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be quite the challenge. And, especially with these other countries, the world is getting so much better. I think for a while it was Canada, the US, like North America kind of dominating. And some games at the Olympics would maybe be, I don't want to say auto win because you never know, but not really something that you were that worried about. But now everyone's really good, and we're still a young team trying to make our way to the top there. But like I mentioned earlier, we have a good time out there on the ice. If you listen to the mics and stuff, we're always joking around, and that's kind of become something that I've been known for, I guess, a little bit in the curling community is maybe running my mouth a little bit and having a good time.
A little trash talk. I like it.
Yeah, a little bit in a friendly way. And we don't want that to be a focus.
Sure.
We want to focus on playing well, but I think a lot of people think at these big tournaments and these big moments, you got to do something different and that there's some secret. But, you know, the way that I look at it is the secret is understanding that there isn't one. You know, it's the same thing that you've been doing. You're there for a reason. And, you know, I'm not sure what you think about that with all your success, but that's kind of how I've viewed those bigger games.
Danny, say that again. I think that is beautiful. Say that again. I think a lot of people would get a lot out of that.
You know, there's no extra secret at the big games at the highest level. There's nothing extra that you're missing. The secret that all these people are looking for is accepting the fact that there isn't one, and that it's the same thing that you've always been doing to get you to that level. Yes, the moment's bigger, and it's great and exciting, but that doesn't change anything else.
That's a real champion's mindset. There is a very famous women's long track speed skater legend. Her name is Bonnie Blair. She came from the Midwest. She won 5 Olympic medals. Her legacy was amazing. She competed against the Eastern Bloc, and she just got so many great stories. And I remember talking to Bonnie one time, and I said, Bonnie, walk me through your mental preparation and visualization pre-race. Whether it is a local competition that means nothing and no one's there, and it's basically like a practice run that's in the middle of your training block, or you are in Calgary at the Olympics preparing for the peak moment of your life. And she said, I prepare the same for both. The track is the same. My skates are the same. The distance is the same. Everything is the same. There is just a manufactured pressure because we have this concentration of effort to publicize and commercialize the Olympics. And I thought that was so interesting. And so what Bonnie does, what made her so great was that she prepared the same way for a local competition that there wasn't a single camera there watching, or for the Olympic Games. And I think to put it to your, in your words, what the real essence of a secret is that the shortcut and the hack is just the work. There actually is no shortcut and hack. It actually is just doing the things that make you feel your best and perform your best. And that's the simplicity, that's the beauty of performing at the highest level, is the variables actually don't change. It's just the perceived expectation. And obviously emotion and desire is a big part of that. But I remember that. She told me that, I think when I was 17 years old, before I ever made my first Olympic team. And it was a really strong words of wisdom that I kind of carry with me to this day, that your mind is really powerful. And sometimes you want to go into an extra gear or do something more, but I'm assuming like in your sport, right, you've got these beautiful stones here, right? These rocks that have been polished and quarried. And if you're angry and that means you throw it 1% harder than you should, that's a game changer. That's like podium or no podium in the difference. And so I think creating that little microcosm of a bubble around you and your team to perform regardless of the external circumstances, that's good stuff, man. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, I like what you said about shortcuts too. Like, it takes what it takes. Like, everyone's always asking around the shortcuts and the secrets like we've been talking about. And like everyone knows what it takes. And it's just, are you going to do it or not? And it's up to you. And yeah, there's some stuff that needs to maybe go your way along the way and stuff that you can learn, but like, it's no secret. It takes what it takes and everyone knows what it takes.
Yeah. The fact that you bring a different kind of energy and style and what I would consider maybe youthfulness to the game, that's really interesting to me. And when I was watching and I was looking on your Instagram and seeing some stuff and then watching some past tapes, you engage with the fans who are there. You're totally. So people that look, if you have tickets to go to Milan and you're there, look for this guy. This guy will look you dead in the eyes and tell you that your shirt is not cool. You need to get on the Danny Casper train. So the fact that you're totally engaging with the fans. I mean, we need personalities, man. The Olympics is all about obviously performance and legacy, but we fall in love with people. We fall in love with their stories. We fall in love with their personalities. So I love that you bring that flavor. When did you start doing that?
Yeah, well, thanks. It's a good question. I don't know. I think I've always been like that a little bit and having fun, and especially playing a smaller sport. I think it's highlighted even more of you're doing it for the passion and for the love of it. And, curling, maybe there's fans pretty close to you sometimes. And it's just, I don't know. I don't want to say I need a moment away from the game sometimes. And I like to mess with someone in the crowd or my friends or like a little kid out there or something. But yeah, like you said, if you come to a game, I might question you why you're being quiet and not cheering.
Oh.
And try to get people excited and people engaged. And it's a lot of people don't know what's going on in the sport, so that's an easy way for people to have more fun. If you show up to a curling arena and you're trying to figure out what's going on, I like to think that's fun in itself. But when you go home that day, instead of thinking, well, we watch these people who are apparently good at it and we think they played well, but we have no idea. Versus, wow, that guy, on the U.S. team, he was looking at me and he was making fun of my hat, or he was trying to get me to cheer, or going back and forth. Like, that's more memorable.
Yeah.
And it's more fun for me too. So yeah. I've been that way for a little bit now.
I love that, man. Keep bringing that flavor. All right, as you go from being a master chess player on ice to eventually becoming a grandmaster, it seems like you were on your way. Just like we see grandmasters play chess, you guys are doing the same thing on ice, obviously with a few fewer pieces. But the strategy is very similar, right? There's a lot of things that you have to think about, the millions of variables of change. If you have to explain curling to someone who perhaps doesn't fully know, they just think it's just throwing rocks around on the ice, give them an insight into your position. What does the skip really do? Make it simple, make it memorable, explain to someone who doesn't really know.
Yeah, so the skip, I think a lot of people would view as sort of the quarterback of the team or the captain of the team. And they're in charge of telling everybody what to do, what shots that we're going to play. And they're also in charge of throwing the last stones each round. They're called ends, but they're kind of like innings in baseball, where each team has 8 rocks and you go back and forth. And at the end of those 8 rocks, you see who's closer. And my role, like I said, strategy, throwing the last rocks. I tell people when to sweep. But it's not quite as simple as that. Obviously, there's, everyone else has their input as well. One of the reasons I love curling so much is I joke sometimes and call it a hybrid team sport, because there's only 4 people out there. And, I know there's a few other sports like that, right? Even aspects of yours too. And like, it's not like football or something where if, you don't like someone, you can kind of avoid them, or it's not golf.
Or run right into them really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, it's not like an individual sport where you're just kind of dealing with it yourself. It's this interesting hybrid where there's only 3 other people and you got to find a way to get along and get done what you need to get done. And, our team specifically, we're all super different. And, I think the fact that if you have someone at the highest level that isn't, maybe your strongest player, like, you can't hide, like you're going to get exposed. So I take a lot of pride in having strong, lineup up and down and having all 4 people be involved. But, the skip, takes on a lot, I think, but it's those other guys make me better.
I love it. All right, so let me summarize. Danny Casper, you are the future, along with your team, of Team USA curling on the men's side. You are masters on the ice of chess, going to be grandmasters. You are strategists. You play teamwork. You engage with the fans. You have fun. You make it interesting. And I think all of us are really excited to see what you guys can bring in terms of fire and really turn up the heat when you get to Milan. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch you compete. Danny, thank you for spending some time with us. I know you've got more competitions upcoming, so good luck. Stay healthy. You've got an amazing story. And follow Danny, on his Instagram. He's got some great content on there showcasing what it's all about. Some of it's pretty funny. I love the alternate stream. It's all really good stuff, man. So keep the content coming. Keep the game fun. Make it playful. I think it really makes it interesting for all of us. And again, thank you for spending some time with us on the show.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Do you come, Mark?
What is is up, Matt. I'm super excited to be talking to you today. You are competing in the game of wheelchair curling. You were a Paralympic athlete in 2022 in Beijing, and you guys are hungry. You're leading as the skip as a part of this team for the Paralympic Games in Milan Cortina, and it's going to be really exciting to chat with you today. So I'd love for you to share some insights about what this game is all about.
Thanks for having me on. I was super excited when I saw the email that I'd be doing, and Apolo Ohno would be doing an interview with me. So this is a great honor. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm really excited to be 26 wheelchair games in Cortina. It's been a grind. We've been working hard this whole time, or for the last 4 years, to get back to the Paralympics. When I left Beijing in 22 after my last game, I rolled out and just looked around, and just because I didn't know if I was going to make it back, right? I know how hard it was to work. And an NBC reporter saw me do that, and she asked me, well, what were you doing there? I'm like, this is hard to get here. There's only like 60 to 80 Paralympians every 4 years that get to do this. Yeah. So I said I was just enjoying the moment, and now I get to go back because I kept working at it, kept grinding at it, and it's just a great feeling to go back, be part of Team USA, wear the flag, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Look, this show is really all about us having conversations about what the road and the journey is like to making Team USA. As you know, because you weren't always an Olympian, there's always this kind of mystique and air and opaqueness around what it takes to both make an Olympic team and also the individual struggles, trials, and tribulations that every single athlete goes through, because all these are very unique. And this is your opportunity, my friend, for you to tell your story to so many people, perhaps that haven't heard it before, about what is wheelchair curling, how you got involved, how you actually started in the sport, what you were doing before you ever were in a wheelchair, and all the things leading up to this moment. And hopefully we can draw some lessons and some learnings and laugh along the way, brother. So why don't we start here, man? Why don't you just give us an insight into what was your life like kind of in your teens and in your 20s?
I grew up in a small town in north central Wisconsin, Ogama, and I graduated from a high school class of 42. And my father and my uncles were all bridge construction workers. So when I got out of high school, I was in bridge construction till I had my injury in 2005. And it was I didn't know anything about curling until after my injury. But growing up, I was just a kid that lived out in the woods, right? Fished, hunted, canoed, did anything that was outdoors, and which I still do, but to a limited extent. But then after my injury, I went to college for accounting, got my bachelor's degree in accounting, and I work for a residential builder now. I do as accounts payable, account receivable.
Nice.
So that was actually a hunting accident that I had. I was bow hunting on September 17, 2005. And I was climbing up in a tree stand, and a tree stand malfunctioned, or a board pulled out of the tree, and I fell backwards, and I just injured my spinal cord and became a T7 paraplegic.
I mean, these are the incidents that obviously shape and change the trajectory of your life. I'm assuming. And so, how you were 29 years old when this happened?
Just before my 29th birthday, a couple months before.
So this didn't even happen early. You had kind of lived a life, able-bodied, probably had never imagined that something like this would be so devastating to change the trajectory of your life. Now you're faced with this moment of like, what the hell do I do now? Who am I now, right?
Correct. I was always taught you just keep grinding, right? My father, he was he worked for bridge construction for 40 some years, and it's not easy work. So you just keep grinding. You don't feel sorry for yourself, right? When I was in the hospital, I was already looking forward. I'm going to get through this. Never felt sorry for myself. In the beginning, there was always bad days and good days because you're just getting used to your new lifestyle. But I never gave up. just keep working at it. At the time of my injury, I lived on 40 acres in a small house on a dead end road. I was the only one that lived down there, so it was real quiet. And I had to retrofit the house, had to do all that extra stuff. Then I ended up getting a divorce, and then I was living by myself. So it was always, how do I figure out how to mow the lawn? How do I clear the driveway? I had help from friends and family, but I figured how to do things, work it out. And then like I said, then I went back to school. I got a bachelor's degree in accounting, and then I moved to where I live now in Wausau, Wisconsin, and worked for a wonderful company for the last 15 years. He allowed me to do the sport that I love. Very, very generous with having my time off and everything. And it's more for perseverance and getting past the injury. So I say now, I've traveled the world more now after my injury than I ever would if I would just have been a grunt working on bridge construction my whole life.
Yeah, that's definitely one perspective to look at that. There's something, I'm telling you, man, there's something in the kind of Midwest, Wisconsin area. There's been many legendary speed skaters to come out of that region. I used to train in Milwaukee at the Pettit Center. The great Eric Hayden started in Wisconsin, trained with a legendary coach named Diane Holm, the Goskowitz family, now Jordan Stolz. So there's something in the air there about this psychology, I think, more than anything, of like the epitome of hard work and grind and continue on. And I mean, this is another level though. So I can only assume, dealing with that new identity and forging a new identity was a real challenge. I wrote about this in a book that I created, but it had nothing to do with me receiving a devastating injury. It was just all psychological for me. As I retired from sport and tried to do something else new again, it's almost like you had to do the reverse. You had to find a new life again with this new circumstance you're facing, create something that makes sense for you, have a job, and then get introduced to this sport, which is, I got this little mini curling thing. Maybe we were talking about it offline a little bit. By the way, these are like really cool. I had no idea kind of how unique all of these are and how hard it is to get these. We can talk about that later, but yeah, kudos to you, man, for just like showcasing your grit and your grind and perseverance and then finding purpose again. You kind of got these two great things, right? You've got this great job that allows you to be flexible, travel the world, and also this thing that you're really good at, which you competed at in 2022 in the Paralympics. And I think you drove the team to just off the podium, right, and getting fifth.
Yeah, we finished fifth. We didn't quite close the door on that. Yeah, we played really well and finished fifth place. And it's been a grind getting back. Like, it's not easy for a whole quad 4 years. It's a long stretch.
Yes, it is.
But as you well know,
yeah, 4 long years.
Yeah, But then we're down to. I just looked at my Delta flight, and it's 75 days of check-in. So, and then all of a sudden, bang, it's here, and now there's not much time to polish things up. So
yeah, and you kind of lead the team as what they call skip, right? And excuse me for not knowing a lot about the sport, but for those people who aren't really familiar with wheelchair curling, like what does the skip do? Like what is your responsibility on the team?
Basically, the skip is like sets up the end, tells what kind of strategy we're going to go, where the other players are going to throw their stones, and how it's going to set up for takeouts and draws. Basically just guides the other three people on the ice playing on how the game and the strategy plays out. And then typically a skip will throw the last two stones then also. So I try to set it up so we can score in the end. So when the skip throws the last stone, it's plays out into your favor.
And is yelling a part of a position? Because I know that like whenever I've watched curling, these dudes are like screaming at the top of their lungs. And I'm always questioning, I was like, does the yelling help communicate to the curling stone? Does it directionally help, or is this like a part of the game?
No. So since like wheelchair curling does not use sweepers at all. So it's basically we deliver the stone with the delivery stick, and then it's out of your hand, right? It's whatever happens, how you throw the stone. So you yell at it for more mental and it doesn't have any effect on the rock at all. It's just, a mental
Yeah.
thing and, just whatever. Otherwise, it's pretty silent out there. If nobody says anything, it's just a pretty quiet game. Unlike, Olympian curlers, they do sweeping and then they're hollering at each other about sweeping and curling and keeping it straight. Once we let the stone go out of our delivery sticks, there's not much you can do about it until it comes to rest.
Yeah, I tend to yell at my computer whenever I have email problems, pretty much the same voice and tone. That's
we all, brother, and then some.
Yeah, that's a little different story. Yeah, so look, I want to know more about these stones, right? I know that you said that you have started to collect these, and I did not know this, but from my understanding, these are really hard to get because they only come from a specific rock quarry in Scotland, is it?
Correct. It comes from the island of Elsa Craig. It has a quarry. It has bluestone granite. I'm probably saying it incorrectly, but it's really hard. And that they shut it down now. They only can quarry granite out of there off of Lars, Scotland on Elsa Craig for like 1 month out of the year because it now is a bird sanctuary.
Oh wow!
But that's the only place where competition granite comes from for stones is Elsa Craig and off the coast of Scotland.
And do you have like a specific set of stones that you like, or does the competition, I guess, like protocol, do they provide you with these stones when you arrive on site? Do you guys travel with these, or do they have
provide them? Each stone weighs 42 pounds. So any curling club, yeah. So the haul around stones, your own set of stones would take quite a bit, which they actually did, I guess, in the early 1900s. They would travel to club with their own set of stones. But no, you go like the World Curling Federation has their competition stones sets, in different parts of the world. And then USA Curling has a few competition sets that they bring to their national championships and everything. So, and then every curling club has their own set of stones.
All right, here's a question for you. When you went to your first Olympics, right? You're wheeling into your first Paralympic competition. How are you thinking about that, right? From years prior, you were on your back, not knowing what to do, not knowing what was coming next, and now you've got Team USA on your back. I mean, that's quite the big change in life here.
It was in Beijing, and we were in the where they had all the swimming competitions in the prior Olympics.
Yep.
Where all the medals were won.
That's a beautiful facility.
Just rolling in, just being in that building where all that history was already made, and then, like I said, all the USA gear on. It's like you don't know where to look. The smiles were so big, your face starts hurting after a while. It's just being proud to be there and all the hard work it took to get there. It was a thrill. It's the first one. It's like the first ones are just a great memory because, like I said, I from laying in a hospital bed, and then 15 years later, give or take, I don't have the math correct, but here I am, a Paralympian. Didn't even know. You watch the Olympics when you're growing up. I've watched you skate. You're like, oh, that would be cool. That'd be cool if I was good enough or was that, an athlete enough to be in the Olympics. And then the opportunity came along at a sport I had no idea existed to become a Paralympian.
Yeah, I love this. Like, life goes on, you get more chances, there's more opportunities, but like you said, you got to keep going forward, right? Like, you got to keep moving.
Yeah, there's no stopping it. Like I use just a small example. It's probably going off track, but like I mow the lawn with a power chair. I use a manual chair every day, but just to do yard work, I would get stuck with my power chair in the yard because it was wet, or I did something stupid, went into a water hole or something. So you get out of your chair, you go back to your other chair, and you keep grinding because there's nobody there out there to help you if you can't do it yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful. If you could, because I find all of these stories so just resonant with like just inspiration and like life lesson. If you could write on every hospital room across the country of people who face these incredible injuries, what would you write to them, from your experience?
I would say keep grinding. It will get better. You have to put in the work, but it will get better.
Yeah.
And don't feel sorry for yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. I love it. All right, now let's rewind. So what has to go really well for you guys to podium and maybe even bring home gold in just a short 75 days, just a short couple of months away?
What will have to go well? Well, but we have 3 new players on our team from the Beijing Games. So we just got selected half a month ago. So this is our first camp together. So we just have to work with our team dynamics, our shooting strategy, and how our flow goes during the game and our communication. First camp went really well. I mean, we've played together before, but not as Team USA. It's coming together. Everybody go home with the practices on their shot making and their mental game and their physicality. I feel really good about this team. We gelled well quickly. We actually, before the team was even named, we played together in a tournament in Switzerland and came in second place.
Great.
So I feel really good about this team. What we need to do is just keep working together, keep communicating. One lives in Denver, one lives in Cape Cod, Montana, Minneapolis, and me in Wausau. So it's not like we can travel or get together easily to train. So it's always a challenge.
Is there something that you guys say to each other right before you begin the competition when you're actually all out there on the ice?
We just say to each other, follow your processes. We got each other's backs. We talk about strategy. Pretty much you'd say just pick each other up don't worry, you miss a shot. I got you. I like to tell them I believe in you before a tournament. Mm-hmm. So everybody feels confident when they throw a rock that everybody else has got their back. Is
there any technology that you guys do or use in regards to the strategy of how to throw, when to throw, that type of thing? I'm sure there's it's an infinite number of possibilities because these things are, they can change by a millimeter, right? Depending on which variable actually happens in real competition.
No specific technology. You just you watch game film and it's more reaction. You try to be on the offense instead of trying to react to what the other team doing. You try to just dictate what they're going to do, but not really a technology wise. We have delivery sticks, and during practice we might have lasers that time rocks. I mean, between each hog line. I don't know how much you know about a curling sheet.
No, man, teach me all about it. I've seen it. I've been out there. I've thrown some stones before. It looks much easier than it is, way easier, and it's not. It's very intricate. Strategy is a huge part of it. I was astonished to see, it's a lot. It's a lot going on.
It's more than what it looks. For technology, we use a little bit of technology during practice sessions because we put timers between the hog lines, and how long it takes the rock to get between one hog line to the other, it's kind of, it's the speed of the rock and how much hard you have to throw it in order to get it into the house, which the more rocks you have in the center of the house, which is the target, the more you score. So we time between the hog lines with some lasers that tell us the rock time, and that's how hard or soft you have to throw it, depending on where you want the stone to end up. And we might use lasers that see if you're throwing a straight line, but that's pretty much all the high-tech technology we use. I mean, we do videotape game and stuff, but that's working on strategy and shot making and what might be better.
The game within the game. And I'm sure a lot of that game is between your own 2 ears. Obviously, there's technique and consistency of throw and all those types of things, but
yes, sir.
I mean, the mind is so powerful. You're a living testament to that. For those people who are going to be watching perhaps for the first time, who've seen curling, who've seen wheelchair curling in the past, but not really sure what to look for, tell us what we should really be looking for. What are the things that we should be concentrating on as new fans of the sport?
You want to concentrate on like stones that you can do angles, like if you can tap stones in, or like ports where you can like put a rock through to get behind guards. The key is that if you want to score multiple points, you want to have rocks in front of the house so they can't hit and take the ones out that are actually in the scoring area. So if you're pretty new to the sport, you want to see how many stones are in play, and then if there's an easy, like a double takeout where you hit one rock and another and they get both out of the scoring position. Those are the fun part of curling. When I know the Olympians, they can rip about 5 of them out of the house at once. Wheelchair curling, if you get 2 or 3, that's pretty good. You can't throw as hard as a able-bodied curler, but still we can get rocks moving and make pretty good at our draw game.
Very cool. Well, I think everyone's going to be excited to watch you compete. You're going to be representing Team USA. We know that you guys have the ability to go and win some medals, but it's going to be up to game day preparation. I'm excited to meet you. Thank you for sharing your story, Matt, and I hope that you share more of that, because your words of wisdom around keep grinding, it does get better. That positive mindset is obviously really resonant with a lot of us. So thanks for your time, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul. I appreciate having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I just had 2 amazing conversations with 2 great athletes, Danny Casper, Matt Thums. Awesome stories, both battling their own stuff, still making it happen. This is what the Olympics are all about, man. This is what making Team USA is all about. That's all for today.